This video is for Georgia Hazarati and Georgia only. I just watched Georgia's interview on Sophia Franklin's Sophia with an F podcast. And let me just say, these two women are amazing and I owe Georgia an apology. I'll be the first to admit that I love the Call Her Daddy podcast. I listen to a lot of the episodes, but this feels like a misstep for the girlies. I'll get to why in a moment, but firstly, you have to go and watch Georgia on the Sophia with an F podcast. Obviously, everyone is going to make their own decisions and believe who they like, but I really felt for Georgia. She comes across as such a girl's girl that was caught up with a complete narcissist. In case you don't know who I'm talking about. On the podcast, Georgia explains how her ex knows how to manipulate the media to make himself look like a victim, but also to get good reactions, which is exactly why he said they slept together on the day they filmed their podcast.
I said, please just post something, a story, and just say what you said was not that serious and it's literally not true. He said, you should, one, know what kind of person I am. I say things online for a reaction. If you don't like that, get out of my house.
If you watched Perfect Match, you might also remember that the person that Georgia won the show with had a lot to say when the show finished. And with the narrative that they were dating, which Georgia says they definitely weren't. He did ask her to be his girlfriend 5 days after knowing her, but bear in mind he had just been in love with Francesca a couple days before. Georgia said she felt like she could say no and embarrass him on national television, or she could say yes and speak to him later about slowing the relationship down, which is what she did. They then hung out in LA and she said it wasn't going well and she didn't want to go forward with the relationship. But he posted a bunch of screenshots, which are still on his Instagram highlights, by the way, where he basically drags Georgia for sleeping with her ex the day they recorded a podcast, which Georgia says is categorically not true. You're going to believe what you want, but I believe her. Imagine then these two guys, yes, I used a bad pick of them both, go on a podcast together to drag a woman. How fucking toxic and insane is that? Over a bunch of shit that isn't true to keep them looking popular and like they are the victims. She also said on Sophia's podcast that she reached out to Francesca. The way I fucking love Francesca, honestly. And remember, she's been through the same thing. She's dated Georgia's ex, but she also hooked up with the person she was with on Perfect Match. Georgia said she was completely graceful, lovely, listened to her and supported her. We love women who support women. And this is where I feel bad because I love this podcast. I follow Alex Cooper and I've supported her journey. Harry is obviously her friend, so maybe she felt like that she needed to get his side of the story across and she trusts him if they're friends. But girl, you have a daddy gang. We are a community that listen to you and trust you. And most importantly, we support women. I know Sophia and Alex have had their separate problems, but I'm glad Sophia is thriving on her own podcast. Don't get it twisted. I love Alex as well. I'm here for all of the women in this video. People aren't always going to get on. That's okay, but we can all respect each other. She deserved better. If her so-called friend lied to her on her podcast, she deserves better as well. And this queen also deserves to thrive. Georgia, if I ever doubted your story, I'm sorry.